good evening friends. Let's welcome Dr. Lipi Gupta, and we are going to hear from her regarding the barrier, the moisturizers, in integrity of the skin, and about atopic dermatitis in general. Dr. Lipi Gupta.
So today,
Mike, please.
thank you, sir. And today we'll be discussing about new delivery systems in advanced moisturizers. Thank you, Dr. Chauhan, and I'm happy to be back again. We have had a huge wave from when moisturizers, which form an integral part of dermatology care, have advanced, to prescribing simple humectants and emollients like glycerin or petroleum jelly, to advanced moisturizers which we have now been able to have specific actives in it. These actives are much more advanced in maintaining the skin integrity and maintaining the skin barrier, which gets interrupted in many dermatological conditions. So we will be focusing on how we have moved from basic moisturizers to specific moisturizers, and what difference we have when we prescribe a simple moisturizer or maybe a petroleum jelly to a patient versus an expensive moisturizer for advanced skin care. Our skin structure is broadly divided into three layers, which is the epidermis, dermis and the subcutaneous tissue. When we prescribe a moisturizer, we are basically trying to restore the straight epidermal skin layer. The epidermal skin layer is further divided into 5 sublayers, and out of this, the stratum corneum and the granulosum, which forms the upper layer, is most important in forming the skin epithelial barrier. Now this barrier is in the form of a brick and a mortar appearance, and I'll be focusing more on this because this will make the overall understanding of this topic much easier. The corneocytes form the brick and the intercellular lipids form the mortar. So when there is a barrier disruption, it leads to more transepidermal water loss, as a result of which the microbes can enter the skin. There can be a pH disturbance, and this can lead to more inflammation, which can trigger a cytokine cascade, which is either a Th1 or a Th2 mediated immune mediated cascade, and which triggers the overall inflammatory processes which we see in many dermatological conditions. The stratum corneum has emollients, out of which ceramides form 50% of the intercellular lipids, followed by cholesterol-free fatty acids and many other smaller molecules. Now these molecules are basically helping to fill the mortar so that the corneocytes are adhered together, because if they are not adhered, there will be more transepidermal water loss. So our main aim of prescribing a moisturizer is to basically restore the corneocyte and the intercellular lipid addition, so that we are not creating an inflammation and we are able to maintain the integrity of the epidermal skin layer. This disruption happens when there is reduction of natural moisturizing factors. Now, natural moisturizing factors are present inside the corneocytes, and this disruption of the lipid bilayer and the lamellar structure leads to inflammation, and there is reduced water content and abnormal keratinocyte deformation. So this is a lamellar bilayer, out of which when there is an inflammatory response, the corneocytes do not adhere to each other and they start creating deformation. Thus, it leads to loss of moisture and dryness. Clinically, we see this as xerosis. Now, what we basically understand as xerosis is just dryness, and this is because of inadequate hydrolipids in the skin. By hydrolipids in the skin, we mean there is a lack of lipids which are present in the intercellular spaces. What we see clinically is roughness, dryness, flaking of skin, and overall we see inflammation and redness setting in later on after these symptoms are there for a longer duration of time. dermatology, there is a huge variety of conditions which can lead to dryness. These are broadly divided into certain exogenous factors and endogenous factors. By exogenous factors, we mean things like repeated hot showers, or if there is exposure to harsh alkaline soaps, cold weather conditions, if you are staying in an environment with low humidity, or there is an occupational exposure to contact materials. In endogenous factors, we have multiple skin inflammatory diseases like atopic dermatitis, allergic contact dermatitis, and basically all dermatitis have dryness and xerosis as one of the symptoms. Many internal and systemic diseases also lead to inflammation and dryness, and they do present as xerosis. It can also be a side effect of multiple medications. In many psychiatric disorders, in nutritional deficiencies, and in overall dehydration, also we see dryness. So it's a huge spectrum in which we see dryness. Now the moisturizers have gone a long way from products which are basically prescribed to soothe the skin. However, there has been an increase in incidence of dryness because of urbanization and adulteration, which has led to an increased inflammatory responses. This is because of urbanization. We see use of more harsher chemicals, chlorinated water, pollution, which is all leading to more chemicals reacting on the skin, thereby producing inflammation. In our prescription, what we prescribe daily, almost every prescription has a moisturizer in it. Now it is according to our judgment to decide what and where to prescribe. These days we have a huge range of moisturizers which have many actives in it. By actives we mean things like peptides, ceramides. So if a person has a very dry skin, we have an option of giving a moisturizer which is almost going to mimic the skin barrier, versus if a limited dryness is there, so we can give something like a plain petrolatum gel. So this variation and judgment is important because we do not prescribe all these active ingredients to everyone. By and large, we describe moisturizer in three categories, which are emollients, humectants and occlusives. Emollients are products which are basically helping to soothe the skin, and they try to fill in the gaps between the conjugates. These are basically ceramides and free fatty acid containing products. Occlusives are products which basically form a layer and help in reducing the transepidermal water loss. A simple example is a petrolatum jelly or dimethicone, and many moisturizers which contain butters as one of the ingredients. Humectants are moisturizers which help absorb water either from the skin or from the stratum corneum and keep the skin hydrated. The best and the simplest example is glycerin, hyaluronic acid and urea containing creams which we commonly prescribe in dryness of hands and feet. So by and large, many of these actives may be a humectant and emollient also. So this is how we broadly divide moisturizers into three subdivisions. When we have a patient who comes to dryness, the main treatment includes skin hydration and application of an ointment, lotion or cream to prevent evaporation and reduce transepidermal water loss. Just to mention that an ointment is something which is more oil versus water. A cream is a water and oil emulsion, whereas a lotion has more water versus a fatty acid. A routine application is advisable even on a damp skin. Now this is important because whenever we are taking a shower, our skin has a lot of water. An application of a moisturizer immediately post shower is important because it helps to trap the water which is present on the skin. So in any dry condition, that's the best time when a moisturizer can be applied. In other conditions which are common dermatological conditions, it is one of the most important product which we ask the patient to apply before we add a steroid. So in many conditions we are trying to reduce the steroid application if the moisturization is done correctly. Now the commonly used ingredients in a moisturizer is first topical ceramides because they form 50% of the intercellular space, and Out of these, there are 3 ceramides which are most important: ceramide 1, 3 and 6. It helps in repairing the skin barrier and it contributes to 13. The ceramide 3 out of these is the most important, which contributes to 13% of the total ceramide content in the stratum cornea. The skin levels of ceramide have been found to be significantly low in many dermatologic conditions like atopic dermatitis and psoriasis, and it has been seen that when we treat these patients, there is an improvement in the skin ceramide level. There is also an importance of ceramide 3, which has been shown to be decreased in contact dermatitis, psoriasis and atopic dermatitis. The transepidermal water loss has been reported to correlate negatively with the amount of ceramide 3. Coming to colloidal oatmeal, which is becoming a very popular ingredient in moisturizer because it forms a coat when it's dispersed in water and traps the moisture. So this forms almost a kind of layer on the skin and helps in reducing the transepidermal water loss. It also has hydrophilic polysaccharides which absorb the water and that leads to a humectant effect. So it's basically both acting as an humectant as well as an occlusive. Occlusive and water binding capacity of colloid films helps hold moisture and improves overall dry skin conditions. It also has anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, and it has been shown to reduce a lot of anti-inflammatory mediators which are important whenever there is a stimulation of Th1 or Th2 cytokine profile. By and large, colloidal or oatmeal-based moisturizers, which are becoming very popular in both geriatric as well as in pediatric population, they help to maintain the skin pH. They have an anti-itch and an antioxidant potential. Besides this, they help in repairing and maintaining the skin integrity and have an anti-inflammatory role as well. This was one of the studies in which they took atopic dermatitis patients. There were around 61 patients which were taken, and these patients were applied with a colloidal oatmeal-based moisturizer, and there was a significant reduction in the eczema severity index within 15 days of application. And after 1 week of after a treatment, 1 week of regression period, we can see the eczema severity scale to increase. There was also a reduction in the overall microbial diversity, pH, improved skin barrier function, hydration, and reduction in disease severity. 90% of subjects showed an improvement in the severity scale, and 97 showed significant improvement in the atopic dermatitis severity scale. Dimethicone, which is an occlusive, is also one of an important ingredient, which is a skin protectant and has both occlusives as well as emollient properties. Sodium hyaluronate is a humectant, and these days we have moisturizers which contain hyaluronic acid, and this has become a very popular ingredient in anti-aging creams where we are looking for skin hydration. So this is a very popular ingredient in the newer generation creams, hyaluronic acids which help in maintaining the skin barrier, as well as peptides which help in improving the NMF, which are the natural moisturizing factors present within the colloid. There are, however, new concepts which are liposomal ceramide. So one of the most common problem faced was that the ceramide is not able to reach the stratum capillosum, which is the most active layer, because of its molecular size. So by having a liposomal preparation, we are able to manage and penetrate the molecule through the stratum capillosum when applied topically. This results in a better epithelial barrier repair, and this is practically helping to improve the skin overall. The corneocyte and the intercellular lipids are so well adhered that it reduces even the prescription of topical steroids. This is now popular as a nanosealer, in which there is a nanosome particle which is attached to the ceramide molecule. We have come a long way from where we started to prescribing basic moisturizers. There are now moisturizers which are more specific. There are also moisturizers which are now AI generated, which is going to be the future, in which they are going to assess your skin lipid composition, your skin dryness, and a moisturizer will be designed according to what active ingredient is needed. So that's the future of moisturizers. The nano-ciliate gives you better fusion with the stratum corneum lipids. It leads to intact and a deeper penetration. It gets embedded in the upper layer of the stratum corneum and it gives you much better hydration. That's all. Thank you.
Dr. Lipi, you can come here. My concerns notwithstanding with the topic, I think you gave a wonderful presentation and it was remarkably simple. I'm sure there will be some interesting questions, and before we set the questions into motion, I would request my chair, Dr. J.P. Tulsi sir, to set the context for asking the questions, and I hope the context will be simpler than the topic.
That makes me laugh, Dr. Johan. So, the questions are simpler as compared to what you talked. Of course, her talk was absolutely excellent and to the point. So, Dr. Lipi, talk us a little about the atopic dermatitis and what is the most commonest cause for atopic dermatitis? Is it the figarin deficiency we see mutations here?
So the atopic dermatitis is something which has come out as multiple etiologies have been prescribed, ranging from hereditary causes to depletion of filaggrin. There are also genetic mutations which have now been identified, which have found a role in the pathogenesis. It was initially a theory which was lack of hygiene hypothesis. In children who were not exposed to dust or pollution, those patients were prone to get more atopic dermatitis. So this has moved long way to genetic mutations as well as specific deficiencies. This makes the how we have changed the management regarding this is from moisturizers which were simpler to moisturizers which now contain oatmeal and ceramide discussed, to management with biological agents. This is something which has come a long way.
So, what's the 3-minute rule for a moisturizer?
Most important, apply on a damp skin. It has to be, see, the quantity of application is also important. It has to be applied in a proper manner. The choice of moisturizer is also important because moisturizer will be available in a cream, in a lotion form. So if you are applying for hands and feet, you should prefer a cream versus a lotion because you are looking for, even if it is not spreadable, it's okay. But if you are looking for application on larger body surface areas like the full body, then we prefer applying the lotion. So all these points should be considered when you are prescribing a moisturizer.
So, Dr. Lipi, this is not a classical autoimmune disorder, as Dr. Kalamathur here would agree with me. It's not a Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it is not a lupus, it is not a type 1 diabetes. Some amount of immune dysfunction occurs here. Talk us about this. It's not a classical autoimmune disorder, but some amount of immune dysfunction occurs. Talk us about this.
Atopic dermatitis in fact has been correlated with lot of autoimmune conditions. We see even association with other autoimmune disorders like alopecia areata, vitiligo. There are certain key features which we see in patients like the presence of demimorphic fold, hyperlinarity of palms and soles, dryness on certain areas. So yes, definitely it has a role with many other autoimmune disorders.
So can we say this accurately describes an immune-driven inflammatory skin condition? Immune-driven inflammatory skin condition as compared to the autoimmune disorders.
So in fact that goes for psoriasis also. Even when we consider the pathogenesis of psoriasis, now there has been a change. It it is also genetically mediated. There are multiple mutations which has been described. Now, how the management has changed is that first we have a long way which we have gone to topical skincare, to systemic medications also. Like previously used to load them with steroids and other immunosuppressants. Now there are specific molecules which are available, which are biological agents, and many other newer molecules which are coming up, which have specific roles because they help in targeting the specific interleukin cascade which is involved in a specific disorder.
So my final question would be regarding the key composition of colloidal oatmeal. Why are we so fond of colloidal oatmeal? It's been there for about at least 50 years. Why has it suddenly become so important?
Whenever there is a whenever a company becomes interested in a active ingredient and it markets it, that becomes a boom. So colloidal oatmeal as such is an ingredient which is derived from, it's a powder which is derived, and it is both occlusive and it has anti-inflammatory properties. So the biggest advantage of colloidal oatmeal is we do not have many other active ingredients which are present in the intercellular lipid binder which have anti-inflammatory benefits. See, when we are prescribing a moisturizer, our main aim is that we don't prescribe a steroid, because there are a lot of apprehensions towards it and side effects which we see in the longer run when we are prescribing steroids. So if you are prescribing a moisturizer which has anti-inflammatory properties, the patient is going to be happy and the parents are also going to be happy.
So what do you say, this is also a steroid sparing
Exactly, sir. However, we have other new molecules in atopic dermatitis especially, which are risabizole, tazarotene and tacrolimus, which have come a long way. So these days we are just giving steroids for the initial acute phase, and we have multiple newer molecules to tide over the maintenance phase.
How often are you prescribing MABs in difficult to treat atopic dermatitis?
Very rarely, sir.
Rarely? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tulsi, for setting a very, very relevant context. Ma'am, you mentioned about urea-based preparations, and what is their role? Are they number one
So
to be considered?
urea-based preparations are given for areas which have thicker skin, like the palms and toes. So the biggest advantages of a urea-based moisturizer, which is present in either a 4% or 10% cream, is that it is hygroscopic. So when we are not able to manage a hyperkeratotic skin condition just with an emollient, a urea is going to be slightly keratolytic also. So it helps in better penetration. But we can't prescribe a urea-based moisturizer for generalized body areas.
Ma'am, winters are setting in, and for all the group members, would you advise some sort of an oil massage after bath throughout the winter, because the skin becomes itchy? We have experienced in winters. What is your advice for a group?
We have come like coconut oil or even any other oil-based massages are helpful because they are all occlusives. They are helping you reduce the transepidermal water loss, and if someone can do it daily, why not? But many a times patients do not like oil massages because of the sticky consistency. So in that case, we can always replace them with moisturizers.
Which moisturizers? Which are the recommended ones?
If a patient doesn't have any major skin issue, even a moisturizer which has free fatty acid or a petrolatum jelly is good enough, because that's going to be economical. However, if a patient has a dermatological condition, then we will choose a moisturizer which has ceramides or colloidal oatmeal, because these moisturizers are going to be slightly more expensive.
Anything specifically for the face, ma'am?
HA and peptide-based moisturizers are the in thing right now, which should be prescribed. And there are many moisturizers which even have skin lightening agents like kojic acid, vitamin C. So it's becoming more of a cocktail for specific areas.
Right. Dr. Tulsi sir mentioned about steroid sparing action. Ma'am, I want to know, do we need steroids at certain places. Yeah.
Topical steroids are the first prescribed when a patient comes with an acute inflammatory skin condition. Why? Because it's the faster onset of action and it's going to give an immediate relief to the patient. But at the same time, we can't ask the patient to keep using steroid because it will lead to skin thickness, striae formation and other side effects, systemic absorption will come in. So we have now many other active molecules which we prescribe when we see that the patient's condition is settled, because we want to reserve the steroid for the next flare.
Very good. Ma'am, one such condition happens to be where there is an element of dryness plus inflammation, neurodermatitis, which I'm sure many of our colleagues must have experienced when they were preparing for their PG or trying to pass out of MD. They were itching all the time. So ma'am, in that condition, neurodermatitis, steroid should be used only till the inflammation subsides, and after that it is the role of only moisturizers. What is your recommendation?
So first, moisturizer, which should continue till complete resolution. Initially we like to give a steroid because we have to reduce the itch scratch cycle. And if the lesion is hyperkeratotic, by which I mean the lesion is thicker, then we have a steroid and a salicylic acid combination because we want keratolysis. Now let's say after 2-3 weeks of using this, the patient is settled. So what we will do is we will add a tacrolimus containing cream because we want a steroid sparing cream also, and continue with a milder steroid. So let's say another 3-4 weeks we are giving moisturizer, tacrolimus and a lighter steroid. Another 2-3 weeks he is settled. So then we ask the patient to maintain on just moisturizer and non-steroidal preparation, which is tacrolimus, calcipotriol and crisabizole.
And of course you give systemic antihistaminics and anti-anxiety medications.
Oral vitamin A supplements along with this anti-allergics as per requirement.
This thing regarding tacrolimus skin cream, I believe there's a box warning by
is after 2 years of application.
Could cause skin cancers.
It's after 2 years of application.
Dr. Chakravarti sir, other question.
Good evening, Dr. Lippi. Wonderful talk. No wonder it was one of those simple talks and very expressive. No wonder my patients vouch for your being simple and straightforward. My question has partially been asked by Dr. Chauhan sir, that whether the age-old process, our way of massaging the children in coconut oil or mustard oil has been there. It causes occlusive, as you said. But what's the youngest age group when you recommend massaging? And what's the best massage for rural areas? Of course, they can't afford these things.
Coconut oil massage is the best massage unless and until
Coconut oil massage.
the skin is abraded.
Okay.
That's the catch.
Olive oil, mustard oil.
So if you are looking for an all-season oil, then coconut oil, because olive oil might be more greasier for summer months.
Okay. What's the youngest age group when you can start massaging?
You can start as early as 2 days.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Dr. Sahgal sir.
Ma'am, what would be the sequence of using moisturizers? If you grade it number 1, number 2, first you start with this, second you do this, if this doesn't work you go to this. So what would be the sequence of moisturizer you would
So
use?
first we prescribe a moisturizer which is basic, which has a petrolatum jelly and a free fatty acid, because that's the simplest. If the patient is not responding, then you add a moisturizer which is colloidal oatmeal based, or it has natural moisturizing factors and ceramides. So that is the ultimate thing. There is nothing beyond that right now. The liposomal ceramides are a new entry because they promise better delivery of moisturization at the stratum granulosum layer.
On the leg, sir.
If you have to use a soap, suppose a child is atopic, he has these xerosis and all that, of course you use a steroid cream initially, and then, but for maintenance you'll need a particular kind of soap. You can't use any ordinary soap for such children, who are...
So those soaps also have natural moisturizing factors in it.
Ma'am,
So
glycerin.
which ones?
Yes, glycerin is again a humectant because it's going to trap the moisture. Used Pierce Dove is simpler. There are other soaps like Teddy Bar. Now they have come with a soap which has ceramides in it. But the problem is that when you are prescribing a soap, the contact time with the skin is maximum 2 to 5 minutes. So if the patient doesn't have any budget issue, prescribe anything. But if the patient has a budget issue, then prescribe a moisturizer which is ceramide containing versus a soap which is ceramide containing.
And third question, final question. I won't take too much of your time. Third is the use of Syndet bars. What is Syndet and what exactly does it denote?
When soaps are supposed to be alkaline in nature. So Syndex, so what the main problem with soap is, they are going to change the skin pH. So Syndex reduce the change of skin pH, so we are not, see again, even in moisturizers, we are trying to maintain the skin pH. So when we prescribe a harsh alkaline soap, it changes the skin pH. So Syndex do not change that.
Doctor, sir, yes, you have a question, sir? No, go ahead.
Exactly, what are these Syndets? Can you give a little about the chemical nature of these?
They are soaps which are not going to make the skin alkaline.
No, what is this Syndet actually?
It's a soap.
What is this chemical basically?
It's a soap which has less alkaline in nature. That's it.
Less alkaline. Dr. Sajid Parvez.
Thank you very much for. Ma'am, I'm Dr. Sajid Parvez, General Practitioner. I just want you to know sometimes we get confused about the seborrheic dermatitis, which appears mostly in winters and appears on the surface as a dry lesion. So, while treating it, is moisturizing good or bad? Is it no for seborrheic or is it?
I would say a very interesting question because seborrheic dermatitis can present in many forms. On the scalp, it will present as commonly known as dandruff. So you will prescribe maybe a steroid lotion and a ketoconazole or salicylic acid-based shampoo. On the face and on the T-zone, it can present as dryness, redness and exfoliating and mildly scaly patches. On those lesions, you will prescribe a steroid plus moisturizer.
Moisturizers are not, they can be prescribed for seborrhea. Or fungus is going to grow if we...
Again, there is another catch here. If you have a patient who has acne and seborrheic dermatitis, who is practically a patient of a metabolic syndrome, who has extremely oily skin, and seborrheic dermatitis is just a part of whatever he is having in addition, then we will not prescribe a moisturizer, or if we are treating the acne, we will prescribe a non-comedogenic and non-oily moisturizer. Now that is another thing too. You may have a moisturizer which is very, very light. It is so light that it can be a gel-based moisturizer also for such kind of patient. In dermatology, moisturizer is going to be recommended in almost every prescription. It is just the kind of moisturizer will change. If I have a patient who has a very oily skin, then I will prescribe a gel-based moisturizer because I cannot prescribe a moisturizer which is oily by nature.
Thank you very much. Simpler would be I will refer it to you.
Dr. Nayyar, sir.
There are many body wash that contain ceramides and oil.
Yes, sir.
So how about using that instead of soap?
That's actually good because it's going to be giving you much lather. There are body washes which again have ceramides and oatmeal which are good for usage.
They are oily and they might use.
Yes. But the only problem sometimes faced with those kind of body washes, they say that the body wash is very oily, कि ऐसा लग रहा है कि कुछ clean ही नहीं हुआ. That is a negative side to it. But if the patient has dry skin, then definitely yes to them.
How about using a little bit of steroid ointment and mixing it with lotions and then applying it? Initially there is itching and
If there is a dermatological condition which is involving an extensive body surface area, let's say we have a psoriasis which is quite extensive, so it might be difficult for the patient to first apply the moisturizer and then apply the steroid cream on all those lesions.
not psoriasis, just
Any other, sir, not for generalized itching, we don't recommend too much of steroids, it's just initially.
one
But
or two drops of this.
yes, can be done, no problem.
Probably.
Yes, sir.
थोड़ा थोड़ा किया करो, थोड़ा थोड़ा जिया करो. डॉक्टर सक्सेना.
Ma'am, I just want to ask one thing. Lately, we have been seeing prescriptions from dermatologists. Earlier, we used to think that skin lesions are very easy to treat, and the treatment also would be, relatively cheap. But now we see most dermatologists prescribe antioxidants, and that too very, very expensive. So the treatment of skin disease really has gone over the roof.
Very true.
Why?
This is because, let's say if we have, let's start with even a moisturizer. A cream used to cost 300, 400. So now we have a cream which is costing 2000. Previously we were prescribing vitamin C as an antioxidant. Now we have glutathione, for which a single tablet is 100 rupees.
And coenzyme Q10.
So it's 3000, 3000, 6 plus 2, 8000 तो सिर्फ इसी का है सर.
वही तो मैडम इतना महंगा क्यों हो गया स्किन का ट्रीटमेंट?
Sir, because we are now going into molecular techniques and molecular delivery systems. So that's why it's expensive.
Ma'am, just another question.
ट्रेड सीक्रेट नहीं पूछेगा.
नहीं सर, ट्रेड सीक्रेट मुझे पता है सर. Ma'am, another question is when we are seeing patient of vasculitis and varicose veins. In fact, I had 2 patient varicose vein today in the evening itself, and I was surprised. You don't see so many patients as a physician, and both of them had this skin problem, the skin getting black. And same with vasculitis. The underlying cause is different. Venous venous insufficiency or whatever, or hepatitis or some autoimmune disorder or whatever. But the patient comes to you with a skin condition, He is not bothered about.
So that's the sad part of it, no? He is not bothered about his systemic condition.
Yes. So, okay, that's right. I have to make him to understand. See, the underlying cause is different, and this is just a skin manifestation of the condition. But even then, I have to prescribe him something like vasculitis is a very such a condition. Patient gets disturbed very easily. Why I'm not getting why is my skin so black? Why is not it's normal skin? And the underlying cause is different. So to treat the skin condition, of course, underlying cause has to be treated. What needs to be done as a general practitioner?
Find the cause, and we might need a specialist intervention. Even in my practice, if I have a vasculitis and the vasculitis patient turns out to be ANA positive, then I do refer to a rheumatologist. Because your vasculitis can have multiple systemic involvement, so it is always better to have a referral for diagnosing the right cause.
स्किन के लिए कुछ तो लिखूंगा.
Moisturizer.
बस moisturizer.
यार जहाँ कंफ्यूजन में हो रेफर यार.
It's not necessary. मैं तो मनीष को फोन कर देता हूँ.
मनीष को डॉक्टर लिख देने को बुलाना नहीं है.
Can we stop the anti-aging process? People are using IV glutathione
Ma'am,
and stem cell therapy. What is your opinion on this?
Ma'am, even I am giving IV glutathione. See, IV glutathione is something which is just going to reduce the oxidative damage happening for some days. If you are okay with taking it again and again with the additional side effects which will come with the cumulative dose, then only you can see a sustained result. Otherwise, aging is a process, it will happen. By doing all this, you can just delay it.
The use of stem cells?
Stem cells now popular as exosomes, which are basically signaling molecules which are helping you deliver the actives inside the cell. So exosomes are now something which come into regenerative medicine. We are doing it for both skin and hair, and the results are very good.
Dr. Manish, I think it's Dr. Saurabh.
Hi ma'am, just to carry on with Dr. Gurmeet ma'am's question, is it really effective to patients do ask this NAD plus drips?
NAD plus is...
And all this, can you just highlight about this NAD plus molecule?
So the NAD is basically a coenzyme for many cellular functions. The main problem is that original NAD is very expensive. It's around 50,000-60,000 costing for the drip. But those people who are taking it, they say there is a good energy boosting and it's really effective. But if you are using a Korean or a Chinese NAD, it's not effective. 50,000 per drip. Per drip.
per drip.
per trip. Once a month. And what should
6 lakhs a year. 6 lakhs a year.
Like for eyes, we use 0.1%, but when we buy a product, 2%.
2 to 4%.
And what about glycolic acid? Does it also have similar action or it's only a peeling action?
And glycolic acid in stronger concentration can be a skin irritant also. So it is, we have to judge the dryness and the kind of skin type before we prescribe it.
But hyaluronic acid can be used.
Hyaluronic acid, unless and until the skin is oily or acne prone, is a very good anti-aging product because it is going to hydrate your skin from within.
No, keep it. Dr. Kanpur sir. Dr. Kanpur.
There is also a genetic and environmental factors which are affecting this AD or eczema.
Yes, sir.
So how far you are using this tacrolimus, immunomodulators and corticosteroid, topical cream, just dilate upon it. And one more question, what are the extra cutaneous stigmata of this AD?
First, environment.
Because there are extra cutaneous stigmata of AD, like perioral pallor, extra, you see, extra fold below the eyelids, and then one more.
Hyperlinearity of palms and soles. Discoloration of the neck area.
And what is the role of TH lymphocytes? And what is and there is more prone to Staphylococcus aureus infections. So what are you doing about those things? Just tell it upon all these things.
There is a definite role of environmental damage. Why? Because of pollution, more particulate matter in the air, use of harsher chemicals, chlorinated water. When you are staying in an environment which is AC containing, you are in a low humidity environment, so the air circulation is not happening. All of these factors are affecting your skin. So first is, that's why urbanization is happening. Now when you are the intake of food, the adulteration, how it has damaged the skin is, you are consuming foods which have more free radicals and which have chemicals in it. So that is ultimately leading to more barrier damage. So that was the first question. The second question was atopic dermatitis. We are prescribing moisturizers and steroids. So whenever we have an acute condition, we give steroids because we have to give response to the patient. After the acute phase subsides, we try and withdraw the steroids because over a long run, first is you will start seeing side effects. So we switch to certain non-steroidal preparations. This is combined with moisturization and anti-allergics or other additional things. Whenever there is an impairment of skin barrier, there will be microbes which will come, and staph and strep are the most common. So we give antibacterial agents orally, or sometimes we give steroids in combination with antibiotics for topical usage. This is in the acute phase of the infection.
Ma'am, what is the role of ultraviolet rays on this AD?
Ultraviolet rays, first, traditionally it was seen that when we have a patient, we are applying a moisturizer, we used to say you apply the moisturizer and sit in the sun. It leads to better absorption and reduces skin inflammation. In fact, UV therapy, whether it is PUVA, UVA and UVB, is itself a modality of treatment for many skin conditions including atopic dermatitis.
Ma'am, are you giving tacrolimus and others?
Yes, sir. We do give now because we have to give a maintenance therapy to the patient. So beside moisturizer, that's the best we can do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Dr. Kalra sir.
May I take the liberty of 2 minutes? So, barrier is as a term is a negative term, but we are using it more as a positive word because we are bearing it, producing a barrier.
It's a barrier to microbes.
The blood-brain barrier and many things. So it's a good thing. We are using for good, negative thing. Well, I want to say moisturizer when you apply, is it a barrier to the UVs which are producing vitamin D? No. It doesn't matter if you are applied moisturizer and six with
So
moisturizer?
all the moisturizers are trying to fulfill the intercellular lipid depletion. When we have a repaired and a healthy skin, is UV light stopped? No. So we are not doing anything beyond that. We are just trying to fill the intercellular spaces and improve the corneocyte addition with these moisturizers, so that there is no transepidermal water loss.
Okay. So is colloidal oatmeal a misnomer? We are not taking a meal.
It's basically oatmeal is the ingredient.
It's not a
You
meal.
are not eating it.
It's
You are applying it.
It's something misnomer. And we read about in many of our sculptures and many of the historians, they said that Dead Sea, water or sand and even a wine bath was good for the skin.
Because all of these are anti-inflammatory by nature. The Dead Sea bath is one of the oldest traditional treatment which was done for psoriasis patients. Those patients were told to have a bath in Dead Sea. Why? Because it had many active ingredients which were anti-inflammatory. So same thing goes even for coal tar baths. If you see traditional medicine, we used to apply tar and we used to ask the patient to sit in the sun. So these are traditional therapies and there is a logic to it.
So nice. Thank you so much.
Dr. Lipi, I think we had a wonderful question answer session for half an hour. In fact, the question answer session lasted more than your talk. Only it was exceeded by the context set by Dr. J.P. Tulsi sir. I want to ask you, there are a lot of popular treatments for skin because everyone has a formula for skin problem. And people will say, आप ना उस वाले तालाब में जाओ, वहाँ पे तालाब है, वो बड़ा फेमस है, उसमें वो उसमें गंधा होती है. Does sulfur, taking bath in a sulfur water, help in some way? And what is the logic?
So sulfur taking bath, again sulfur springs, the baths in sulfur spring were also prescribed as a remedy for many dermatological conditions. Again, same thing, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant nature.
बहुत ही बढ़िया. अब मैम सिर्फ एक बात बता दीजिए for benefit of everybody here in the house. एक तो आपसे बात करने का तरीका क्या, अगर मरीज भेजना हो तो मरीज से बात करने के अलावा कोई तरीका है क्या?
My number is always attended. I may not be there, but someone is always there.
All right. Yes. मैं नहीं, वो कुछ लोगों ने पूछा कि तरीका नहीं पता बात करने का मैडम से. बात नहीं कर पाएंगी, आपको अपॉइंटमेंट मिल जाएगी. आपको अपॉइंटमेंट मिल जाएगी. And of course we know this shortcut, but shortcut के अलावा. So friends, we had a wonderful discussion today on a difficult topic made simple by Dr. Lipi.